It appeared like everyone was busy, set on doing their own thing. Because of this, Vorden found the situation a little boring. Before, he would often spend his spare time teaching Peter on how to use the Earth ability. If it wasn't something like that, then Vorden would be racking up his head, trying to figure out how to get out of a tough situation. It was as if he liked to keep his mind busy. If he was left on his own accord, there were only 2 people who he could talk to, although they seemed to be a bad influence on him. As of the moment, the uninteresting occurrences were transpiring. "Hey, do you think we can trust her?" Rayton shouted as he asked. "We knew something was up, and it looks like we were right, working for Pure. Who knows what she's already told them?" "They could be after Quinn," Syl said while continuing to rock back and forth. "Guys, will you all just calm down?" Vorden hollered, annoyed by his companion's complaints. "Syl, I know you're worried, but if Layla has done something, I think Pure would have done something by now. Yet no harm has come to him." With these words, Syl gradually slowed down the motion he had been doing. This was a sign that Syl was starting to calm down a little. Now, Vorden needed to deal with another person. The more riled up Rayton got, it would affect Syl to a similar level. Vorden's aim was always to keep Syl as calm as possible at any point in time. Syl can remove anyone from the chair if he wished to. Vorden always feared this. Although he wanted the best for Syl, if Syl ever did remain on the chair, what did that mean for both him and Rayton? "What about the next portal outing?" Rayton queried. "What if she plans to make her next move then? We need to find her real goal. Actually, scratch that. No risks. Just off with her we go." "Fine," Vorden replied, giving in to the idea. He knew firsthand that if he didn't do something, Rayton would continue down this path, and eventually he would get Syl worried. "Then I will go talk to Layla." A few moments passed. Vorden could be seen walking around the school aimlessly, searching for all the popular spots where the other students usually hang out at. Regrettably for him, he did not find any trace of Layla in the area. Who does Layla even hang around with? Vorden contemplated on the matter. As he reminisced, he thought of the 2 students who were the only people that he had seen Layla talk to. They were Quinn and Aaron. Presently, with Aaron gone and Quinn consistently spending his time in the VR pod, it meant that Layla would most likely be in her room. Thus, Vorden went to the dorms to visit Layla. After a few minutes, he landed at his destination. Upon knocking on the door, a female student answered it. That was the first time Vorden had ever seen her. The most prominent feature of the lady was her short black hair, with a fringe that cascaded her face, nearly covering the entirety of her right eye. Her name was Sia, and she was the 3rd person who occupied Aaron and Layla's room. "What do you want, Blondie?" Sia said with an irked tone in her voice, seemingly bothered by Vorden's appearance. "Is Layla there?" Vorden asked. "Are you her boyfriend?" Sia said as she scanned Vorden's body from head to toe. "I'm guessing you 2 had an argument or something, judging how she's been since yesterday, or maybe it was the fact that she found out her best friends were... But she's not here." This was the explanation the school had given, that 8 students had been found with connections to the group known as Pure and were taken to the dungeon as a form of punishment. "She's not a..." Vorden mumbled. He didn't know why, yet hearing Aaron's name like that by a stranger who didn't know the truth of the whole situation really annoyed him. "Whatever, man. Look, if you want to find Layla, she's usually by the back of the building, sitting on the bench just underneath the large tree. She and Aaron often went there together." With that piece of information, Vorden left without saying another word. He was mostly polite. However, something about Sia just rubbed him the wrong way. "Oh, pretty boy," Sia shouted. "If you and Layla aren't an item, then feel free to pop a visit in my room any time," she said, winking at him as she closed the door. "Now that's my type," Rayton said. "Shut up," Vorden replied, as he went off to the location that Sia had informed him about. The sun had set, and the darkness encompassed the sky. Although it still wasn't very late, usually the sun would set after 7 in the evening. While walking to the location, Vorden felt that it would be strange to be seen anywhere in the area. It might be fine in the middle of the day, but at night was bizarre. As he turned the corner, he indeed saw someone sitting alone on a bench right underneath a tree. Vorden moved in closer. Eventually he reached the spot in front of her. It wasn't until the last moment that Layla lifted her head. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her face was a little swollen. There were signs indicating that she had been crying for most of the night. "Vorden, what do you want?" Layla asked in a rude tone. She had just lost her best friend, and the last person she wanted to see was standing right before her eyes. "I think we need to talk about whether or not I can trust you," Vorden asked. "This again?" Layla moaned. "Here, why should I care if you even trust me or not? Let's put it straight, Vorden. I and you are not friends, and we probably never will be, especially since you keep acting like this all the time. Look, Layla, I need to know. I thought it was fine, but now that I know you're a part of Pure—" "So what?" Layla interrupted Vorden. "I was in Pure this whole time before everything started. The only difference now is that you guys know about it. That hasn't changed who I am, and let me ask you. Aren't you going around accusing me all the time? But what about you? Why do you care so much about Quinn?" At this point, Layla had stood up from the bench and was starting to inch closer to Vorden. Accordingly, he continued to step back every time she took a step forward. It wasn't because he was scared of her, but because of the voices in his head. "If she takes one more step closer to us, Vorden, and you don't do anything about it, I swear," Rayton said, his tone a tad threatening. "Shut up!" Vorden shouted as he grabbed his head. "Layla, I need to trust you. If I can't trust you, then I'm afraid of what will happen to you." When Vorden spoke of these words, he wasn't saying them in his usual tone of voice. Layla picked up on this, since he had said it with such sincerity, and that frightened her a little. She knew something was up with Vorden, but wasn't sure what. Perhaps it was a drawback of his powerful ability, she thought. But what was happening to Vorden, and why was he so attached to Quinn? "Then tell me, Vorden, what can I do to prove I'm on your side?" she asked. Fortunately, Vorden had prepared an answer to this question. Hence, as he walked over to her, it was the only thing he could think of. "Let Quinn turn you into a vampire. That way, I know that you're on his side." Layla's anger bubbled at such a question. She wanted to shout and ask the same question. Why couldn't he do it as well? He could get turned too. And yet, despite wanting to ask such a question about why he couldn't do the same, she already knew the answer. It was the loss of Vorden's ability. He was already strong on his own and proved himself to be a good asset to the team. His skills were versatile, which was a great help to them on several occasions. While for her, it didn't mean much. Her powers were quite weak, only being a level 2. She had even bought a level 3 ability book before, hoping to improve her powers, but there was no such luck. She was one of the unfortunate souls who, even with money, wasn't able to increase the strength of her ability. She was stuck at level 2. This was her bottleneck. "I want to go to Vorden, but it's too risky right now," she replied.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.